The Big Scary Woods, Part 2. Man, there really is nothing to eat in here, Harris said, poking his head around in the refrigerator, which was stocked to the gills with toddler food and strange exotic vegetables. What is her thing now? Organic? I mean, what the fuck does that even mean? I mean, food is organic, you know what I'm saying? It's like no pesticides and stuff. And yeah, it's all organic lately. I swear to God, even the toilet paper is organic, I said. And before that, it was raw foods. And before that was that macrobiotic shit. I shuddered thinking about the spaghetti sauce she used to make with beets instead of tomatoes in the midst of her macrobiotic phase. Well, I liked it better way back when she was on that low carb thing, Harris said. You remember that? Another steak instead of french fries? Goddamn 6 egg omelet with half a pound of bacon? Yep, those were the days, I admitted. But I pretty much had the shits all the time, and it got to where I'd shoot somebody for a slice of bread. Harris had gotten one of Michelle's tiny applesauce jars from the fridge and was eating it with his fingers after finding out that a tablespoon wouldn't fit inside it. So, everything all right? He asked, digging his finger around inside the jar. I mean, she's not, here. Nope, I said. I mean, you got raccoons in the chimney. Big deal. Happens. Thing is, see, Harris said emphatically, pausing to scoop the last of the applesauce into his mouth. The thing is, she's got raccoons in her chimney. He pointed to his temple to indicate that he was talking in metaphor, just in case I was stupid and couldn't pick up on it. In fact, her whole family got raccoons in the chimney. You know what I'm saying? Harris always seemed to perk up when Joanne and I were having problems. He happily offered marital advice, weaned from his own marriage, which had lasted only 9 months but was so sufficiently dramatic to teach him everything there was to know about being married. Whenever I called to ask if I could sleep on his couch, he always had steaks on the grill or oysters roasting by the time I got there. I suppose my struggles made the single life, which for Harris was pretty lonely of late, seem all the more appealing in contrast. If he wanted to make me jealous, it was unnecessary. Though I didn't want Joanne to leave, I was secretly very envious of both his solitude and his occasional flings that always flamed out within a month. Maybe I should just let him stay in the fireplace, live here in the house with me, I said. They're better company than her anyway. What kind of fucking attitude is that? Harris asked. He slipped into his parody of our high school football coach, whose motivational pep talks would have been more inspirational if he hadn't had a perm. These things have come into your house, scared off your woman and your child, and shit in your mouth. And boy, let me tell you now, there's gonna come a time when you gotta be a man. A man. And a man don't surrender his house to nobody, especially not no beady-eyed, turd-slinging, glorified rats. It was a rousing speech, and together we sat down to have another beer and draw up a plan. Harris's first idea was simple. We'd make sure the raccoons were in the fireplace, climb onto the roof, and unload shotgun blast after shotgun blast down the chimney. This plan was sure to work, but had its drawbacks in that it would be very messy, not to mention pretty hard on the fireplace, which I still hope to get operational by winter. He vetoed my idea to poison them, noting that it was not very cathartic, offered no real closure, not to mention the stench if they crawled up under the insulation in the attic to die. What we needed was a way to flush them out and make it so they never returned, preferably by ensuring them a violent death. After some deliberation and about half a case of beer, the plan came together. I was going to light a fire in the fireplace, and Harris would stand outside with his 410 and shoot the raccoons as they fled the chimney. It seemed simple enough, and we reasoned that even if he didn't kill every single one of them, they weren't very likely to take up residence again in a place where they'd been both smoked out and shot out. I planned a different story for Michelle, one that involved luring them into a box and setting them free in the big, scary woods, though I debated just telling her the truth, partly because I thought she deserved it, and partly because I'm a terrible liar. We decided it best to wait until just before dusk, when the little nocturnal bastards first started stirring awake for the night, and in the meantime, We had a few more beers. When it was time to roll, Harris took up his station in the backyard while I stuffed the fireplace full of newspaper doused with lighter fluid and lit it, ready with a month's worth of junk mail and a bunch of cardboard boxes to keep the blaze going. At first, it seemed that nothing was happening, and I began to wonder if the raccoons had even been home. But as I stoked the fire a third time, I heard a shot from the backyard, followed closely by a second. At that exact same moment, Joanne came in the front door with Michelle in tow. I hadn't heard her drive up. She was not happy. "This is a subdivision," she screeched. "You don't stand around in the yard and shoot at the house. And if somebody calls the cops, don't think we're bailing his dumb ass out of jail either, because he still owes you money from that thing with that girl in Virginia." She was about to go on, but Harris came in the back door, shotgun slung right casually in the crook of his arm. "You said there's three of them, right?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes. I only saw two, but killed the first one. Bam! Dead before it hit the ground. Second one got away, though." Michelle must have pieced together for herself what was going on, because she suddenly broke out into bitter, screaming sobs for the poor raccoons. "It's okay, sugar," Harris said, kneeling down to comfort Michelle and utterly misinterpreting her cries, which began to grow in intensity. "They ain't coming back, darling, I promise you that." Suddenly there was a commotion in the fireplace. A shower of sparks sprayed onto the hearth, and out shot a tiny raccoon no bigger than a large squirrel, surely a baby, with fear in the one good eye that wasn't blackened by the ashes. It was frantic and very much on fire. We all watched in stunned silence as it scurried across the living room and tried to climb the drapes, getting about halfway up before it fell to the floor, yelping and writhing until Harris leapt into action and stomped it dead. "Tell you what," Harris announced, "that right there is just not something you see every fucking day, is it?" "We don't say those words in front of the baby," I said, just as I saw the flames begin to lick up the curtains toward the ceiling behind him. I stood watching the fire as Harris doused it with his beer and ran to the kitchen, shouting something about water. A swath of the flaming drapes drifted to the floor, catching the carpet of fire. I imagined the floor burning out from under me as I stood like a tree planted in the middle of the big, scary living room, and I could hear Michelle screaming from the front yard, even after Joanne slammed the door for the very last time.